the greatest gift you can give someone is the ability to be seen and to receive acknowledgement for their effort and how they're trying their very, very best.
Welcome to Pwrmums podcast. We are very, very happy to have my friend Vanessa Quayle on Zoom all the way from Sydney.
Thanks, Kat. I appreciate you inviting me.
Social distancing taken seriously. We are doing it via Zoom. Ness, would you mind introducing yourself to us, letting us know who you are, where you're from?
I'm a mum of 3 gorgeous kids, Thomas, Ella and Ari. They're all under the age of 7. And I am a business owner. I am, I guess, a spiritual seeking, meditation loving, fitness enthusiast. I love connection. I'm hardwired, soft-wired for community, connection, love, and growth. So that's kind of who I am.
So I got to know you when you used to live in Singapore. You're one of the founders of Momentum Bootcamps. Was Momentum the first company that you started?
100%. So yeah. It was the first fitness venture really that I started. I had a decade in marketing and communications, and when I arrived in Singapore in 2012, I was on the cusp of turning 30, and I decided that I needed to create 30 things to do before I turned 30. And the second thing on that list, after cooking for 10 people, which petrifies me, I'm a terrible cook, the second thing was running a half marathon. And so when I ran that marathon, or half marathon, it changed my life. I felt completely and utterly inspired to never say never and to feel confident and capable in my body. And that then changed my career. And I studied to become a personal trainer and group fitness instructor. And a year later, I launched Momentum.
Wow, that's brave.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people have a bit of a drive within them or a burning desire, but they don't actually take that next step. So what gave you the confidence to go, actually, I can do this?
I guess I've always been an optimist. That's definitely a superpower of mine.
Yeah.
It's not to say I don't have fears and self-doubt, but I think there was a part of me that said, I think this is truly my perspective on Momentum was if 2 people showed up, I'm going to train the house down with them. I'm going to give them the best possible version of me and inspire them and connect with them. And I kind of had that expectation. So it took the pressure off really. And then it grew very organically and very quickly. So I think within the first 2 months, there were about 70 members. And that's when I partnered with Amanda as my business partner. Yeah.
Wow. That is
so it was full on. And at the time I was a new mum. We had adopted my beautiful son, Thomas, and he was 11 months at the time. So I was trying to juggle that and see, but yeah, I guess the pressure was, I just want to do something that I feel I definitely feel inspired. I feel creative. I feel like I connect with people of all fitness levels and of all backgrounds, and I love being around people. So I think that naturally had a flow-on effect, and I think people resonated with my training and my style, and it grew, and yeah, so that was a wonderful chapter of my life.
Yeah, and it escalated into what I really want to talk about, which is Work Out, Work In, which is your latest venture. So Work Out, Work In is pretty unique, I'd say, in its concept. Would you mind sharing with us a bit more about what that entails?
Yeah. So returning back to, I transitioned from Singapore to Sydney, and I am a single mum. So the kids are with me, 5 nights a week. And I was thinking, how do I make a business? How do I start something? How do I make sure that I'm doing something that honors all of my passion and creativity and drive, but how do I also do that around the kids and their school hours? And I felt really, I had so much, this is a concept that started in October last year. And then I created the business plan in November. I launched I secured the URL and the domain name and insurance liability. I did everything, but I had a concept that it would be potentially to the corporate market, that I would go to businesses around lunchtime. But the concept 100% was integrating a holistic practice to mindfulness, to wellness, to health, and to combining things that definitely have been the cornerstone to to my emotional, mental, physical health, particularly over the last couple of years. There's been massive transition for me, and I wanted to, I think whenever I learn something or grow from something, I do want to share it. And that's always been a good intent, an intention that I've had for myself, that I wanted there to be a combination of movement, of fundamental foundational movement, breath work, resistance training, and aerobic training, which are, that's how I train myself.
Yeah.
And I certainly wanted to integrate my passion and love for mindfulness meditation. And I think that then provides that holistic package where you walk away from the session, hopefully feeling energized and calm and centered and strong. And that's what I thought, yeah, this is definitely my venture, and this is what I would love to do. And it just so happened that COVID-19 hit, and it made sense to do it all online. And it certainly has helped my ability to perform as a mum and as a business owner to do this online. So it's been a blessing.
Yeah, I think it's from an efficiency point of view, how much better as a mum to be able to just click a link and open up on Zoom, rather than try and get out of the house, travel to the place, do the class, think, I really have to enjoy this class because this is my me time.
Yes.
So the stress during the class of, I really must enjoy this because this is my only time away from my baby.
Yes.
It's fantastic. And then also from your time as a mum and as a business owner, you not having to kind of travel. I know with boot camp sometimes having to lug all the equipment into your car, 100%. Drive to the venue, and I also
set up 45 minutes beforehand, all those things. It just takes a lot of time and energy. I think for me as well, like just to be able to, the way it's structured, I do a 9:30 class and an 11:30 class, and in between those two classes, I'm running down to the laundry, putting on a load of washing, I'm prepping for dinner, I'm able to like sweep around the table after the kids have tornaded through and out the door to school. So it's nice to be able to get on top of things and not have to go to and from different places and feel genuinely exhausted, because I think most of the time I'm someone who has quite a lot of energy, but just the reality of life is it's quite full on with 3 gorgeous kids and just keeping on top of it all. So I'm very grateful that I literally set my my Zoom sessions up in my youngest son's room, Ari. It's converted into his room and my office, and it makes sense. It's good. It's been lots of fun.
And from a Singapore point of view, the timing, obviously you are in Sydney, so you're 2 hours ahead at the moment, which means that it's in Singapore Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, 7:30 or 9:30. So for myself, I'm working, my part-time working mum, the 7:30 class is just perfect because I can roll out of bed, do my whatever I need to do, pumping normally, and get to the class without having to worry about hair and makeup or whatever you might need to do if you think you're leaving the house for exercise. For Singapore working people, it's brilliant.
I hope so.
Yeah. No,
I've got quite a few clients from Singapore, so then that definitely does echo in that
you've got
clients. So.
And you have some clients in the States, don't you?
Yeah, I've got 4 clients from LA, and so it's usually sometimes between so LA and then one in I think Texas. So it's either 4:30 or 7:30 p.m. for them. So that works well. And then I've got some from Vietnam, from Singapore and Adelaide. I guess just wherever they are in the world. It's been perfect. It's been nice. I've reconnected with really good friends who literally live now 20 minutes down the road. I'm like, I didn't know that you were 20 minutes down the road. So that's also been really lovely.
Yeah, that's great. And would you mind talking us through? So your classes are about 45 minutes. You've mentioned that you like to bring the kind of the meditation and the holistic wellness aspect that you have benefited from. You've reaped the rewards of figuring that out in your own life. You've now brought that into this practice that you're sharing with others. Do you mind talking us through a typical class?
So you would log on and then you'd be greeted. But you'd start off with, I like to just open up with just a few stretches, and then we go into a very intentional breath work, and then a moment of pause and presence, and then we set an intention for our practice. So how we want to feel, how we want to show up, what energy we need to honor, and try and have that integration of your mind, body, spirit. Because sometimes, especially if you're a mum, you might just feel like you are literally on your last legs if you're exhausted. So I'm a person that definitely wants to bring out the best and really challenge you, but I also really want you to connect first and foremost with how you're feeling and how you need to perform. So you may need to set the intention that you just want to enjoy movement, and not be competitive with yourself or certainly anyone else. There's no competition, but having that connection, because too often we are in autopilot and we just get told what we do and rather than just like sinking in and really understanding how we are feeling mentally, emotionally, physically, and honoring that. And so once we set that intention, we get moving straight away. So we go into functional movement patterns and then warm up and then straight into, I really, my greatest love is strength work and resistance training. So usually we're typically always using some sort of hand weight. So from dumbbells to laundry liquid, whatever you have, it goes. And then, we end with, and then it's integrated sometimes with Tabatas or, some sort of aerobic training as well. So you're feeling your heart rate rise and you definitely get your sweat on. But it's, again, for all different fitness levels. I make sure that there's regressions, progressions. I up the ante. This is a 15-second rest, but if you don't want to rest, this is what you could be doing. So it really does cater to a lot of people like, yep, I'm ready to go, I'm fired up, or I need to honor that energy, and yep, I just need to enjoy movement and take the pauses when I need to. And then we transition into a cool down, which then leads to a mindfulness meditation at the end. So usually that's between 10 to 12 minutes of a guided meditation. And you finish with gratitude and just with a sense of calm. So I think that's, for me, it's a wonderful way to just end, where people feel restored, connected. They're definitely, their energy is refined and they're ready to go.
Fantastic. And I think the thing, when you come out of it, you do feel better for the day and you actually feel nourished. Like, I think I've done lots of Zoom workouts and I've done lots of great Zoom workouts from other companies as well. But sometimes, because there's so many people in the Zoom, that you're not necessarily being noticed. Or, like, you could have your video off and get away with it. I don't think anyone's having their video off in your class, Ness. I think that's so good. A lot of my network now are mums. And after having a baby, they might think, I don't think I can do that because it's high intensity or whatever. And I think you've got such a good balance of strength, which is what us mums need to do. If we're lugging around a 7-kilo baby, we need to be able to be doing some weighted strength exercises. But
absolutely,
I think they don't need to be afraid that they won't be able to keep up, because you have such a way of offering regressions and progressions in a way that would never make anybody feel embarrassed. I often have to take a lot of your regressions because I'm not back to bouncing around like I used to be just yet. But yeah, I think your manner and your tone always makes you feel good for choosing the regression rather than feeling, I'm not good enough to do this. So that's something that I really value.
Thank you. But I think I learned that very early on, especially when I was doing outdoor boot camps in Singapore, that the greatest gift you can give someone is the ability to be seen and to receive acknowledgement for their effort and how they're trying their very, very best. And I learned as a really young pup, as a trainer, I do, like, we're doing 20 of these and 50 reps of that and 20, and that doesn't suit everyone. And that's certainly, no matter where you are, like, that 20 reps could be everything to someone, and it could be very demotivating if you can't reach that. So for me, I've been very conscious that it's, we're doing things in a 45-second block. And if you're doing a quality rep, I don't mind if you're doing 5 or if you're doing 55. Just focus on quality over quantity and focus on how you're doing it and not injuring yourself and feeling stronger with every rep thereafter. So that's certainly how I prefer to motivate and to encourage people to listen to their bodies and to do it without feeling demotivated, or certainly feel more in tune with themselves.
That's awesome. And putting my physio hat on, I love it, because as a physio, I tend to, group exercise in general can sometimes have its challenges from a injury prevention point of view or a high risk of injury point of view. So that's generally why I'm not the biggest fan of big group stuff. So the fact that you often are saying, it's not how many you do, it's how you're doing it. And I think the combination of movements that you choose, you know, I think it's so obvious during your class that for anyone that's done group exercise before, that you've put thought and effort into the programming. And a lot of the exercises, you really just get bang for your buck. So it's not just doing a squat 10 different ways. It's doing how you're combining how to do a squat with a movement pattern that's kind of relevant for our movements in real life. And so, yeah, you definitely get a sweat on, but I feel like in a really safe, nurtured environment.
Yay! Thank you. I think that's the greatest issue I had when I started this. The greatest hurdle mentally was, if I start something, I want to be able to give people the best of me. And I don't ever want to, and that was a big call at the very beginning. I had started the sessions. There was one session at 6:15 on a Friday morning, and I was doing that. And then I thought, what am I doing? I'm actually really, really exhausted. I have 2 boys that love to end up in my bed at, you know, all hours of night, and quite often poking my face at 3 o'clock in the morning. And by the time that they go to their fathers, I'm pretty exhausted. And I had to make that call very early on to say, I'm going to have to disappoint a couple of people that are really committed to this 6:15 class, because I need to actually sleep. And I need to honor how I will better show up for other people. And so I think it's making calls that may not sometimes feel like you should be able to put yourself first. I think as a mother, in particular, you kind of have that guilt factor of I shouldn't be putting my needs. But I think especially if you're owning a business, if you're running a business, you need to be able to say, how am I best going to serve my clients, and how am I best going to serve myself and my family, and making calls that very early on that kind of create that structure for you to be your very best.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because I watched a short clip last week, I think it was, and it was talking about the gender pay gap. And they were saying one of the reasons for the gender pay gap isn't because women are women and men are men. It's because women tend to be more agreeable. So women tend to say yes. Or someone will ask you something. It happens with me. Oh, can you see me at 3 p.m? And really, I work mornings, but I'll be like, oh, yeah, sure, just this week. And so we're so agreeable, even though we know by being agreeable, something has to give. And that will probably be family time. So I think the fact that you've now got that balance, or the balance is a work in progress, you can give your best because you can't give your best to your clients if you're stretched too thin. And you certainly can't give the best to your family. And as a power mum, we have to not be too agreeable.
Absolutely. I think it's just going back to the whole, how do I best want to show up? And what are my gifts, and what do I also need to honor within myself? And I think that was the greatest journey for me over the last couple of years, is understanding what I definitely how I need to be in alignment with my heart, my head, my energy, and my intentions. And that all has to do with having a great understanding and being able to stand in my own stillness, and to listen to myself, and to trust that what I'm saying is true and valid, and I need to act on that. And that it's the more that you flex that muscle, it becomes stronger. And that's been, I think, through the mindfulness meditation that I've done, that's been a massive gift to be able to say, I'm not going to be that agreeable, and I'm not able to do that. And with all of my love and heart, I'm making these choices that will honor me and not put me in a position of compromise.
I love it. And so for anybody that's listening or watching that might think, oh, that's great for Ness that she's good at meditation and mindfulness, but that's not for me. Would you have any words of wisdom?
Oh my goodness. I think it's life-changing. It's life-changing. It's I would say that's okay. And again, everyone's on different journeys, and maybe it isn't for them right now, but maybe in a couple of years it will be. But I feel that I love the quote by Eckhart Tolle that one conscious breath in and one conscious breath out is a meditation. So if you're able to just stop and be able to connect with your breath, and then, you might even do that just for 10 breaths, fantastic. But what what that meditation does, I guess, if you're connecting, it can be your breath, it could be the sensations of your body, it could be the sounds around you. It's just creating pause between and space. You know, too often we live in a very knee-jerk reaction to, you know, we need to do this. As mums, we're like, okay, I've got to think 5,000 steps ahead, and I've got to juggle these balls. And I think it's being able to give space between an action and a reaction, and being able to just pause. And I would like to do this, but let's just give that space. Let's, you know, not react heavily, because again, if I do that, then I'm going to come back with a clearer, more considered approach. And I think that's profoundly, as a mum, especially a single mum, where sometimes you reach your limits and you get extremely exhausted and you can be very fried. The meditation mindfulness has been a godsend to my kids, because it's made me very conscious of being connected with my internal landscape. So if I'm feeling like my chest is starting to feel constricted and I'm starting to get agitated, I go for a bit of a walk into my room, or I have a time out. Or if I've, you know, yelled, I'm like, stop. I can immediately come back and go, I'm so sorry. I'm really, really tired. And you know, I explained it to my 3-year-old. And you know, immediately they're like, we forgive you. And we have this like bunny where we press our noses to each other and we're like, we forgive you, we love you. And I think that's so important to teach our kids, to say that, that when my kids are, especially my eldest son, he can get really frustrated and agitated. Mate, how can we calm down? How can we settle ourselves? And being able to be still and not be, quite often we get preoccupied by our phones and by podcasts or movement, or, you know, I love to be very productive. And I think that productivity was disguising a lot of anxiety and a lot of stress I was feeling. And then when I was actually able to sit in that and go, I feel this, and let that wave of emotion hit me and actually cry it out or just acknowledge it, it just settles me so much more. And those waves aren't as big, and they don't feel as strong, and they don't sweep me under. So again, everyone's on their journey and everyone's on their path, and I don't ever feel like you need to ever tell someone how to behave or be, but it has been life-changing for myself. And that's why I feel like it has to be, I couldn't go back to the standard, let's do a boot camp, sweat it out, and I'll see you later. This is so powerful that it had to be integrated into the next business I was starting.
Yeah, I love it. Well, I've certainly benefited from it. And I think even just from what you said, just knowing it's okay to take a time out. Sometimes as mums, I think we put this probably a pressure on ourselves that we have to always be patient and kind with our kids. But I've had days when my baby, or nights when my baby has just cried, and there seems to be nothing that I can give her that she wants. And you get to the stage where you're like, what do you want? And then I've had to just say, and I wouldn't even say I'm particularly practiced in meditation or mindfulness, but I've realized it's okay to pass the baby to someone else and just have a moment to kind of pause and collect my thoughts. So that's the journey that I'm kind of on now in motherhood of, I guess I'm 7 years behind you. So hopefully in 7 years, I'll be a wise owl like you.
No, I'm well and truly still learning. But no, it definitely, but this is the thing, it's not just that reaction of like, and I think especially when you're in the thick of it with babies, that's so tough, because they can't tell you how they're feeling, and it's a whole different kettle of fish. But I think being able to recognize how you're experiencing stress or anxiety, or you know, your cortisol levels are rising, how does that appear in your body? And sometimes that's the thing, like before you can get into that state of reactivity, going, these are my triggers. And I'm noticing that more than ever, that when I start to feel a tightness in my chest, or I start to feel like my brain's going a bit fuzzy, because my kids are so noisy and they're always competing, mum, mum, mum. And I'm like, okay. And I'm that person who, I want to listen to you. What do you have to say? I want to validate you. And I want to do that with all of them. But I'm like, okay, this is now getting too much. And I'm like, this is all appearing in me for a reason. And these are my little alarms. And this is what I say even in training. I'm like, if you've got a niggle in your body, if you're hurting, if you're experiencing pain, that's that's the red light going on. And if we decide to ignore that, then we're going to combust. Then the engine's going to blow out. Then you're going to have time off. And we have to start recognizing those red lights much earlier. And that's where mindfulness meditation for sure has been like, these signals are going off. Take a moment of pause. Go for a walk. I need a time out. Guys, I'm feeling overwhelmed. Mummy needs a minute. And they recognize that for sure. And that's been a really great gift to also give them. I'm like Thomas or Ella, do you need a timeout? Do you, and not a timeout as in you need to be in timeout, but what do you need right now? And they're recognizing that within themselves. And that's really sweet. It's a gift, I think, to be able to be taught this. I was never taught this as a child. I was never taught this up until, my life actually, felt like it was imploding at the time, and I was living overseas, and I'd separated from my husband, and I had 3 kids under the age of 5, and I had to navigate a massive international move and living and finding a home and a school and a bank account and a car and all these things without any family support. And I was like, this is overwhelming. And if I really were to pack it down and go, take this in its totality, I would have crumbled. But I was like, no, I'm now just going to focus on the next thing in front of me. And then I'll do that. And I will trust myself that I'll do the best decision. I'll make the right decision. And then I'll do the next thing after that. And that's why, like, even now, like, I have these moments where I'll be thinking about where my kids might be going to school, and would that be the best school for them? And, I'm talking high school. I'm like, I don't need to think about that right now. Like, he's in year 1, she's in kindy. Like, that is not now, like, I'm retraining myself to that mental stream of thought is now done. Okay. Changing the channel, move on. And I think, again, I don't know how I feel like, especially in this state of play and the pandemic and people's stresses are so high that it has huge impacts on how you sleep, and how your mind races away from you. And we often go to the very worst case scenario and play those out. And I think the ability to now be in a place where I continue to use it as a practice that I need every single day, and to be able to sleep well at night and not wake up with anxiety and not wake up with the stress of, stress. How am I going to do this? What's going to happen next? I don't have those thoughts, and I don't wake up to that sort of dread. And I think, it's a part where you can really start to unravel the onion layers of ourself and our mind, and not be a slave to the mind. And that's quite important.
Yeah. I think your story is so powerful, and it gives so much hope for people that are going through problems, just to know that there is light at the end of the tunnel. And I think you need to diversify with your business and also become a therapist. There's a new business idea for you. Just talking to you feels very therapeutic. It feels I keep using the word kind of nurturing and nourishing. I think you have got a very special gift, and everybody that I know in Singapore agrees you're beautiful inside, you're beautiful on the outside. This is early in the morning, people. Look at this lady, mum of 3. She doesn't sleep. That's her superpower.
There are times it's so funny when people get online and we're doing like a 9:30 session. I'm like, I had 8 hours, or usually it's 5. But yeah, it does make a difference. But thank you for the compliment.
It might be a good time to love you and leave you.
Thank you.
Thank you
so much. I'm very grateful to be part. Have a wonderful weekend.
You too.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.